All righty. All right. We're back for our third Who Dat episode on talking about different players for OU football coming up this year and who we think could be a big contributor. This week we are covering um, Eric Gray. And obviously, I think most fans, even the casual fans, have heard about him or at least know his name, let alone if they know anything about him. Um, and just what he could potentially bring. He's obviously a running back, which is definitely an area of need for the Sooners after what has happened this offseason. He came out of he grew up in Tennessee. I believe it's in Memphis. He went to a collegiate school, Lausanne Collegiate School. He was a four-star running back coming out of high school, and he had a terrific high school career. He had about 8,200 rushing yards throughout his career. He averaged almost 200 rushing yards a game, and he had about 134 total touchdowns in his career. I mean, he played all 4 years, which is pretty impressive at the high school level. He is the first ever three-time Mr. Football Award winner in the state of Tennessee for high school football players. He's and then from what we've looked at and what we project him to be, he's going to be the number one or number two with Kennedy Brooks. He's gotten offers from all the big time schools coming out of college, from Alabama, Penn State, Tennessee, but Oklahoma did not actually offer him coming out of high school. That was a couple years ago. Probably didn't have room, and just like the other running backs a little bit better. And it just worked out that we ended up offering him and getting him in the transfer portal. And he had a very good high school career, great year over at Tennessee. He had about 1,000 total yards last year, I believe 9 total touchdowns. We've talked about him a little bit before on previous podcast. He could definitely be a 1,500 yard total yard guy for the Sooners. Brandon, what are you thinking about him this fall?
Like you said, didn't offer him originally, but I think they're very happy to have him now. He's a guy, like you mentioned, a little over 1,000 yards at Tennessee last year. Kind of guy who can do it all, both running and blocking, catching the ball to the backfield. He should fit really well into Lincoln Riley's offense, especially with he's not going to have to shoulder the load all by himself, as you said. Kennedy Brooks is a very capable running back who's also going to be there. I think him and Brooks should be, if not the best running back duo in college football next year. They should, at minimum, top three for sure, because I think they can provide a lot of fits for other defenses as far as game planning goes, because together they should be really good.
Yeah, I think that we can expect out of this duo something very much like a Mixon and P. Ryan production back when they were at the University of Oklahoma. They're just going to get to compete on who's going to take a knee against Oklahoma State this year, so that'll be fun to watch. I think Eric Gray might actually come out to be our number one, or the guy that takes a little bit more of the load. Kennedy Brooks is coming off an off year. I don't know how much training he's done. I don't even know if he's been with the team. He was with the team at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, part of the COVID deal, you're supposed to be totally away from the team. So I assume he was working out and training on his own, but he's been on a football for a full year. And I don't care if you're 20 years old or you're 30-year-old running back in the NFL. It's tough to miss a whole year and then jump right back in at the highest level. I mean, it's probably going to take him a month to really get back into it.
I agree. And it's been like a 60-40 split in favor of Gray, maybe to start the season. But I think by the time midseason rolls around, or 3 or 4 games in, whoever the hot hand is, that's where the ball is going to be going to. Obviously, if it's Kennedy Brooks or if it's Eric Gray.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, my question is to you guys: if it's 4th and 1 and we need a yard, who would you rather have?
Kennedy.
I was going to say Kennedy, but I it depends on the game situation. If Eric Gray is just having a day, I'm going to say feed Gray.
Yeah, I mean they're both big guys. Eric Gray's not a skinny guy or one of those really small players. I mean he's big too. I mean it's almost like you can flip a coin almost. I feel like with both of them.
Yeah, I think what will really be different for Kennedy is he's never really played with any of the guys on this team. A whole year off last year, we had a relatively new offense in regards to the faces that were on the offensive side. Now all those guys are coming back together, and yeah, it's new to Eric, but Eric, might have had maybe a little bit more rapport with some of those guys that came in. They're similar classes. Most of them were in high school around the same time. Kennedy's a little older than them, and like you said, being away from football, I'm assuming he was doing like training personally back home with his high school, whatever, but more than likely it is going to take him a while. He's going through camp right now, so he now remembers what it's like to be hit, but can he do it consistently like he was doing it before?
Yeah, so I'm gonna set some numbers, and you guys are gonna pick the over under on them. Okay, so we're gonna have Eric Gray. His only rushing yards, is gonna be set at 1,200 yards.
Total yards.
Over under 1,200, just rushing for him.
Yards.
Oh, just rushing under.
Under. Okay, Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I think under. He'll be like scraping that, but yeah, under for sure.
I actually think it's going to be over. I think he's going to be the workhorse, honestly. I mean, I think Kennedy's going to get his fair share, but I don't know. I think he could be over. So then I'll have Kennedy set at 1,200 as well.
Rushing?
Yeah, just rushing.
Under. I just think that with the offense that Lincoln runs, it's a lot more pass out of the outfield. There's not like Kennedy. If I remember watching him, right, he was more like he's going to run through you kind of guy. And it's not like we run too much down the middle through like a scenario where he does need to run people over. Kennedy has a little bit more of a burst of speed right on the front end to get through the holes that are created by our offensive line. So I think that they'll both be under, but out of the two, Eric Gray is going to have more yards than Kennedy rushing.
I agree, but if you have Eric Gray as a 1,200 yard rusher, and I'm okay with that if it happens, that'd be awesome. Where do you put Kennedy Brooks' total at?
I think Kennedy's going to be more of like that 800 to 900 yards. I think that's where he'll be. I mean, he's going to be close to 1,000. I think Gray will be over 1,200, and then you have Kennedy at 8 and change. So I think we'll have a combined 2,000 yards rushing between those two.
I think it's definitely like maybe receiver's just a little young. I think it's probably our most loaded position now.
Mm-hmm.
Running back.
Because like I said, I mean, I think that's a running back duo that can be top 3 in the country.
Yeah,
and they're gonna have the freshman. Who's the kid that just committed last year?
Talking about running back?
Yeah,
Marcus Morris or Major?
No, that's 2019. Wasn't there a kid coming in this fall?
Kamara
Wheaton's class. It was between him. Raleek Brown. Is he this class?
No, Raleek Brown is next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I think we took one running back. I can't exactly remember, but yeah, Kamara Wheaton was supposed to be the guy, but he ended up not choosing us. So then I'm going to set the receiving yards, and we're going to set it at 400 yards receiving for both of them. Do you think more?
400 lines?
No, 400 each. That's the line.
That I don't know. I just don't know who has better hands. I think so. Looking up Eric's stats, he never had over 300, but that was with the Volunteers, where he also never had over 1,000 yards rushing. And I think at least you and I believe he will be at least 1,000-yard rusher. I don't really know where. I know Brandon said under 1,200 1,200, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to be like 1,000, 1,050 type guy. I think it's going to be 1,000 for each though.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gray could be over that, but I think Kennedy's going to be way under that. Kennedy's not much of a receiving threat as much. He's more the just traditional running. I think Gray could have 1,200 receiving and 450, or not 1,200 receiving, 1,200 rushing and like 450 receiving yards, and he could have about 10 touchdowns.
Now, if he does that, and we are, as good as we think we could be or should be, there's a good chance he's a Heisman candidate.
Yeah. So I'm thinking 1650 total yards for him this year.
I'm kind of interested to see I'm starting to think whoever's the better pass protector will end up getting more snaps. Because we'll probably run some RPOs, having the running backs, not only pass protect, but catch in some situations. So I don't know. Whoever ends up being the better protector for Spencer might get to play the football a little bit more.
That is true. I just think Kennedy's going to be behind the 8 ball with being out of football for the past year. I think he's going to have a little bit of a tough time. Not that he's not going to do well. I just don't think he's going to be the number one guy.
It's crazy to think that, because if I recall correctly, PFF has Kennedy as the number 1 or 2 top running backs returning to college, and we're putting in a transfer over him. I know it's like they're just grading returning running backs, but those returning running backs are no joke. I mean, one of them is Breece Hall, right? So he was great at it for Iowa State. So it's crazy to think that we have guys that are going to potentially be 2 of the top running backs in next year's draft class, and they're gonna outproduce. One of them is going to affect the other one's production. Obviously,
no, it just goes to show, or all the talent that Oklahoma has. PFF, they do have that, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I might be wrong. It might be really even, like Brandon's saying, like you're saying. I mean, I just think Kennedy's going to be a little more the workhorse this fall.
Great.
We'll see.
Gray.
Gray. My bad. Yeah, Gray. But yeah. I mean, other than that, I mean, that's kind of my bold prediction. I think 1,600 plus yards, total yards for Gray, 10 plus touchdowns.
If he goes, let's say 1,650 combined, and if he bumps that touchdown number to 14 or 15, I think not only is he a candidate, he's probably the Heisman favorite, which I'd be okay with it, because that means probably in a good spot.
Yep. No, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think they're going to both have solid years, and they'll have a good chance in the NFL.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So other than that, I think that's all I've got to say about him. I think just really excited to see what he's going to be for the Sooners, and we'll see what he can produce on the field. But if you guys don't have any other final thoughts, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Quick, short, sweet little segment about different players each and every week. This is, like we said, the third one. I believe last week was about Key Lawrence. If you hadn't seen that one, go check it out. And then the first one was Micah Bowens. We're covering the transfers first. You don't think Micah Bowens might contribute? Well, I think he might be our starter in 2 years at quarterback, and you just never know. Key Lawrence might be the starter. I mean, you just never know. So if you hadn't seen those, definitely check back, go through the channel. It's down there on a playlist. Anyways, every Monday, keep checking, like, comment, subscribe, and any outlandish predictions you guys have, we'd love to hear it. And we'll just keep it going. But we'll see you guys on next week's episode. Thanks.
See you.
See you.